Pokemon Platinum, one of, if not one of my favourite Pokemon games of all time. Sinnoh is a fantastic region to play through for me, but Pokemon in general can get a bit stale if you don't spice it up a little bit. So today we will be playing through Pokemon Platinum in a hardcore Nuzlocke with even more of a twist. That's right, we will also be randomizing wild encounters, items in the overworld, trainer Pokemon, and obviously our starter Pokemon. Pause now if you want to see the rules for a hardcore Nuzlocke, but without further ado, let's hop right in. As all mainline Pokemon games start off, we find ourselves in our bedroom ready to explore. Heading outside, we meet up with our best pal Jamie, who seems to be in a rush for some reason. We soon head north of our hometown and encounter the wonderful Professor Rowan. He's kind of confused as to why we would run into the tall grass without Pokemon to accompany us, so he very kindly allows us to pick a Pokemon from his briefcase. Here's where we meet our potential starter Pokemon, but remember, they are randomized. Our three options were Poochyena, Metang, and Spinarak. Do I really need to tell you which one we picked? We obviously choose Metang, and straight away, Jamie challenges us to a battle. For some reason, Jamie cheated and got a Donphan, which just wasn't an option from the briefcase now, was it, Jamie? Cheater. Nonetheless, we beat Jamie's Donphan with a couple of confusions and win the battle. After meeting up with Professor Rowan and Dawn in their lab, we get to name our starter Pokemon. We went with Adidas, and for the love of God, if you don't get this nickname theme for this run, I really can't help you. Running back and forth from Sandgem Town and Twin Leaf, it was finally time for the Nuzlocke to actually begin. We received some Pokeballs from Dawn and head towards the start of Route 201 to get our very first encounter, Donphan. We managed to catch the Tusk Girl and name her Nike. The encounters do not stop there though, as we enter Lake Verity where our second encounter is Goldeen. I've never really used a Goldeen, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We name her Gucci and have a quick look at the team so far. Already off to a really solid start. Route 202 next, where we can get yet another encounter, that being this absolute monstrosity of a Pokemon. Good lord. We try not to judge too much here, so we catch her and name her Zara. We drop the package off to Jamie, gain the Pokétch from some random guy, beat up some trainers, and then get a few more encounters. We caught ourselves a Zubat, which we named Champion, and a Fortress, which we named Versace. With a little bit of training done, it was time to take on Jamie. This battle is usually pretty difficult when doing vanilla runs of Platinum, but the randomizer has blessed us with a very easy battle. Zara is able to blitz through Jamie's Venonat with a few uproars and pounds, and Adidas is able to take down his Quillfish after a few confusions. Easy W's. With Barry out of the way, we could now grab ourselves another encounter from Route 203. That encounter was...
Listen again!
Oh, we are so winning this challenge. There is no way that we don't. We catch the Cyndaquil and name him Vans. We don't actually get another encounter in Auberg Gate just yet, so we can get that on the way back later. But as we make our way through Auberg, we decide to head to Route 207 to get another encounter. Nothing special as we only encounter a Cleffa, but a Pokemon is a Pokemon. We catch Cleffa and name her Converse. With the gym leader not at the gym, we go on a search for them and eventually find them in a mine. Rourke shows us his awesomeness by destroying a rock, okay, before inviting us to take him on at his gym. Before heading to the gym though, Vans wanted to evolve into Quilava, which is great right before a gym battle of complete randomness. With the randomization, I don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to prepping. All I can do is ensure that my Pokemon are at a decent enough level without going over the cap, and then just hope for the best. With a little bit of grinding out of the way, it was time to take on Rourke. Rourke leads with Riolu, as we lead with our starter, Adidas. On the first turn, Riolu connects with a Force Palm, which does very little damage. Adidas fires back with a Confusion, which takes Riolu down to the red. On the next turn, Riolu is healed with a Potion from Rourke, however it proves to be useless as one more Confusion from Adidas is enough to take it out. Out next for Rourke is Cloyster. Cloyster kicks off with a Withdraw, raising its defense as Adidas comes back with a Metal Claw, which does laughable damage. Although our attack is raised thanks to a Metal Claw, the following turns prove to us that Adidas isn't going to be the best option in this matchup. With that, we decide to swap out into Zara the Exploud, who luckily isn't affected by the incoming Supersonic thanks to her ability. The following turn, Zara starts an Uproar, taking Cloyster into the yellow as it comes back with an Aurora Beam. Rourke's last potion is then used on the Cloyster, but it's swiftly brought back down to the yellow. After a Protect from the Cloyster in the next turn, it's finally dealt with after one more Uproar from Zara. And finally, it was time for Rourke's very last Pokemon, Mewtwo. Are you kidding me? Yes, a Mewtwo is scary, but it's not unbeatable. With an insane clutch play from the AI, Mewtwo hits Zara with a disable, meaning that we can't use Uproar anymore, which we were locked into. This, however, gives us the opportunity to switch into Nike, but once again, Rourke is proven to be a challenge as Mewtwo sets up a barrier, increasing its defense stat. The following turn, the Mewtwo does exactly the same, boosting its defense stat even higher as we opt for a knockoff, which, unsurprisingly, does minimal damage. This is looking a bit shaky now, but we haven't actually been hit with an attacking move yet. We take some time deciding who would be the best option right now and land on Adidas to come on in and save the day. On the switch, Mewtwo goes for a disable, so no harm was done this turn. A battle of attrition then begins. Metal claws, barriers, confusions, a slow and painful battle until eventually it came down to Adidas almost being taken out by its own confusion. With both Pokemon on the field being in the red, we switch out into Vans to try and finish the legendary Pokemon off. The confusion from the Mewtwo hits Vans on the switch and does a decent chunk of damage. On the next turn, Mewtwo fires off one more confusion, but Vans is able to tank it and take it down with a single Ember. And with the death of the legendary god, we have defeated the very first gym leader in this run. Phew, no idea how we came out of that battle deathless, but we did it. Heading back towards Jubilife, where we can finally get that encounter we missed in Orbag Gate. Thankfully, we got lucky again and encounter a Luxray. We catch her and name her Victoria. Heading north of Jubilife, we join a scuffle between Team Galactic and our day ones, Rowan and Dawn. We team up with Dawn to take them down without taking any damage, so that's pretty cool. Onwards to the Valley Windworks, where we're able to encounter another Pokemon in Chimecho. Hopefully we won't reach a point where we have to use this thing, but we catch it and name it Ralph regardless. We then do a little bit of bad guy beater uppering and finally reach one of the Team Galactic admins, Mars. This Mars battle is yet another battle in vanilla runs that can easily force a reset thanks to her notorious Perugly. Let's just hope the randomizer is feeling nice today and gives her some baby Pokemon. The battle kicks off as Mars sends out a Roselia and we send out Victoria. On the first turn, we switch out into Vans for obvious reasons as Roselia connects with a stun spore, leaving Vans paralyzed. On the next turn, Roselia outspeeds and uses Growth, raising its special attack. Breaking through paralysis, Vans connects with an Ember which takes Roselia down to the yellow. The following turn, Roselia hits a Poison Sting and Vans is able to once again break through the paralysis, ending the Roselia with one more Ember. Mars then sends out her last Pokemon, Drifloon. Drifloon outspeeds straight away and connects with a Gust. In the same turn, Vans gets fully paralyzed and is unable to attack. Not taking any chances, we switch into Nike, who takes another Gust from the Drifloon relatively well. The next turn, Drifloon focuses its energy as Nike hits it with a rollout, doing just under half of Drifloon's HP. On the following turn, Nike is hit with another Gust but is able to tank it and connect with a second rollout, taking down the Drifloon and winning us the battle against Mars. Thank goodness that is over. After defeating Mars, we reunite our father with his daughter before heading north towards Eterna Forest. Before the forest antics though, we encounter a personal favourite Pokemon of mine, Mischievous, who we catch and name Calvin. We all know the shenanigans that take place in the forest, so we can just zoom past this completely irrelevant part of the game. One thing to note is that whilst in the forest, we were obviously travelling with a companion, Cheryl. I decided to count my Eterna Forest encounter after we had abandoned Cheryl at the end. Luckily for us, this was a great call, as we got ourselves a powerful Torterra. After catching the eco-biome tortoise, we name him Lacoste. Finally, we make it to Eterna City, where we meet up with Jamie, stalk some cool blue-haired scary guy, encounter an even scarier blonde-haired woman, and prepare ourselves for the next gym. After taking down a few gym lasses, it was time to take on the second gym leader in this run, Gardenia. Let's get it. Gardenia leads with her Ludicolo as we lead with Victoria the Luxray. Victoria kicks things off with a Spark which leaves Ludicolo with just under half health. It then comes back with a Mega Drain, restoring some of its HP in the process. On the next turn, Victoria lands a Spark which does just enough to take down the happy dancing Pineapple one. Next up for Gardenia is Donphan. Not risking a ground type move, we switch out into Lacoste the Torterra. On the switch, Lacoste is hit with a rollout but is able to tank it very easily. The following turn, a Razor Leaf from Lacoste takes the Donphan into the orange as its HP is restored slightly thanks to the citrus berry it was holding. Donphan, being locked into rollout, tries to hit Lacoste but misses. One final Razor Leaf from Lacoste on the next turn is enough to take Donphan out for good. And last out for Gardenia is Lumineon. With the type advantage on our side, we stay out with Lacoste, who is besotted with the Luminion in front of him. Fortunately though, our boy Lacoste isn't a simp and smashes the Luminion with a Razor Leaf, taking it down to a slither of health. On the next turn, Gardenia uses a Super Potion, bringing Luminion back into the green. However, thanks to Lacoste being an absolute Sigma, he breaks through the attraction and lands one last Razor Leaf. And so, with Gardenia out of Pokemon, we have earned ourselves the second gym badge of this run. Now that Gardenia is out of the way, it was time to get ourselves another encounter. The next one is located in Mount Coronet. In a great turn of events, we end up encountering a good old Croconaw. We catch the little guy, and there was no way I was missing this opportunity to name it this fitting name. It was time to get down to business by entering Team Galactic's hideout, taking down a bunch of grunts and eventually reaching the top floor where our next extremely scary battle will take place. The battle being against Galactic Commander, Jupiter. Well, in actual fact, this Jupiter isn't as scary as the vanilla Jupiter, as her Beautifly is easily dealt with by Victoria, and Crocs is able to demolish her little Cyndaquil. What a result. Thanks to our heroics, the best champion in the Pokemon franchise gifts us an egg. After running around like a lunatic for what felt like an hour, our egg finally hatches into a... Oh, well that's just great, isn't it? Well at least we can trade our little Croc for our big Croc. Please do listen to that sentence carefully. So no harm is really done. After doing a little side quest involving some miners, pause, we get ourselves a nifty bike and head down 206 and Route 207, where we meet up with our girlfriend. Dawn gives us the Versus Seeker after a little bit of flirting, and then into Mount Coronet, where that strange blue-haired man from before is lurking. Creepy, but I like his vibe. Eventually we do make it to Hearthome City, where our next gym challenge awaits us. Before we head into the gym though, we do meet our mum in the contest hall, where we also receive a fashion case, which we will never be using. Fantina, the next gym leader, is also in here, so we quickly introduce ourselves before agreeing to meet in her gym for some battle times. A few measly trainers are taken down and the gym puzzles are complete, and then it's time to take on the woman herself, Fantina. Fantina leads with Sceptile as we lead with Lacoste the Torterra. With not a lot of options against the Sceptile, we switch into Vans, who is able to take an X-Scissor from the Sceptile like it was nothing. The following turn, Sceptile outspeeds and connects with a Pursuit, but is immediately met with a powerful Ember from Vans, bringing it to just above half health. Fortunately, we get the burn. The next turn, Sceptile outspeeds again and lands another Pursuit, but thanks to the burn, it does next to nothing. A Flame Wheel from Vans is then too much for the Sceptile to handle, as it goes down in flames. Next out for Fantina is Rotom. Predicting an electric type attack, we go into Lacoste for the immunity. Unfortunately, the AI is too smart and goes for a double team, raising Rotom's evasiveness. On the following turn, Rotom goes for yet another double team, but miraculously, Lacoste is able to connect with a super effective bite, bringing Rotom down to the yellow. But thanks to Rotom holding a citrus berry, some HP is restored. The next turn, Rotom begins to uproar, and with its evasiveness very high, this could get messy. But through sheer luck from Lacoste, he lands a bite on Rotom and finishes the little electric ghost boy off for good. We got pretty lucky there. Last but not least for Fantina is Mankey. A bit underwhelming, but that's the beauty of randomizers. Mankey outspeeds Lacoste and lands a critical hit Karate Chop, which does a decent chunk of damage. Not to worry though, as a powerful Razor Leaf from Lacoste is enough to end the Mankey in just one hit. And with that, we have defeated Fantina, earning us our third gym badge of this run. Feeling good about our win, I felt like nothing could get in our way of winning this challenge. Not even a surprise battle with Jamie was enough to take us down, as we made light work of his entire team. Even though he did have both the second generation box legendaries in his team. Talk about overkill, Jamie. We make our way through Route 209, where we catch a Spiritomb named Sheen, and we take down some trainers along the way. A quick stop off at Salacion Town before heading up through routes 210 and 215. Eventually, we make it through the routes and onto Veilstone City, where we head towards the gym only to find our girlfriend waiting outside for us. Ah, how cute. Some topless dude then interrupts the romantics and Dawn runs off all flustered. This angered me and made me want to beat up some Pokemons. And who else's Pokemons are better to beat up than our next gym leaders, Maylene. After warming up on the grunts inside her gym, it was time to take her on. Let's get it. Maylene starts off with her Pachirisu as we lead with our starter, Adidas. We immediately switch into Lacoste expecting an electric type move, and right we are as Pachirisu goes for a spark. On the next turn, Lacoste is hit with a sweet kiss, resulting in him becoming confused. Thanks to this, we hit ourselves in confusion. That's just great. Pachirisu outspeeds on the next turn, hitting Lacoste with a Swift for little damage. Once again, the confusion is a bit too much for Lacoste to handle and hits himself in confusion again. The following turn, Pachirisu hits another Swift, but Lacoste is able to snap out of confusion finally in the same turn, connecting with an Earthquake which one-shots the pesky Pachirisu. Out next for Maylene is Pidgeot. A flying type move wouldn't go down well with Lacoste here, so we switch into Victoria the Luxray, who takes a quick attack very well. Victoria then outspeeds the Pidgeot on the following turn and lands a Spark, taking it down to a slither of health. Pidgeot goes for a Feather Dance, which does lower our attack stat annoyingly. Another quick attack from Pidgeot does minimal damage to Victoria, and then it was time to say goodbye to the Pidgeot after one more Spark. Last out for Maylene is Staravia. With Victoria's attack stat drained even further, we decided to switch back into Adidas as Staravia goes for a double team. On the following turn, we switch back out into Victoria, which in turn lowers the Staravia's attack stat. Staravia gets off another double team, boosting its evasiveness even higher. Not to worry though, as even 3 double teams aren't enough to stop Victoria from landing a Spark on Staravia, which manages to one-shot the evil Burb. And with Maylene out of usable Pokemon, we have defeated her and earned ourselves the 4th gym badge of this run. Heading outside the gym, Dawn is waiting for us again as she's got into a little bit of a sticky situation with Team Galactic. We meet up with her and take on some goons, which didn't give us any problems, and then Mr. Policeman showed up asking a bunch of questions. After all those shenanigans, we head down Route 214 where we encounter a Psyduck, which we name Gander. Okay, at this point the nickname theme was getting a little bit too difficult for me, as if you couldn't tell. Eventually we make it to Pastoria City, where we waste no time in readying ourselves for our next gym battle. A part of that training involves taking on Jamie in yet another Pokemon battle. Jamie doesn't seem to have the best of luck when battling us though, and that may be down to his team, only consisting of a Slakoth, which Adidas takes care of, a Totodile, which Lacoste deals with, a Nuzlocke that stood no chance up against Vans, and a Curlier, which in fairness nearly kills Vans, but is dealt with after 2 Flame Wheels. Easy peasy. During a little more preparation for the next gym battle, Vans evolves from Quilava to a mighty Typhlosion, which I surprisingly have never really used in any Pokemon playthrough, so this will be fun. Unless he dies, of course. But with Jamie and some gym scrubs out of the way, it's time for our date with Crasher Wake. Let's get it. Wake leads with Kricketune as we start off with Adidas. A Psychic from Adidas is almost enough to take down Kricketune, but not enough as it comes back with a Bug Bite doing very little damage. Wake uses his first Hyper Potion on the next turn, bringing Kricketune back up to full health as Adidas lands a Bullet Punch for Chip. One more Psychic from Adidas on the following turn is enough to take out the Kricketune. Wake's second Pokemon is Cradily. A Metal Claw from Adidas does okay damage as the Cradily begins to set up using Amnesia. Another Metal Claw from Adidas brings Cradily into the yellow, but some HP is restored thanks to it holding a Citrus Berry. Cradily then fires off a Confuse Ray on Adidas. The next turn, Adidas isn't strong enough to break through the confusion and hits itself, as the Cradily uses Ingrain, becoming increasingly more cheesy as the battle goes on. With Adidas struggling a little bit, we swap out into Crocs V2, who is hit with an Ancient Power, doing a decent chunk of damage. Crocs V2 outspeeds on the next turn, landing an Ice Fang for a good amount of damage as Cradily further boosts its special defense with another Amnesia. Another Ice Fang from Crocs V2 just misses out on the kill by the thinnest of margins, but does manage to get a lucky freeze, meaning Cradily isn't able to attack us in this turn. Wake then uses his very last Hyper Potion on Cradily, bringing it back up to full health as Crocs V2 lands another Ice Fang. A few back and forths of Ice Fangs and Ancient Powers until one more Ice Fang from Crocs V2 is enough to seal the Cradily's fate. Wake's very last Pokemon is Solrock. Crocs V2 outspeeds on the first turn with a Crunch, taking Solrock down to the yellow. Solrock then uses a Rock Polish, raising its speed. Thanks to the Rock Polish, Solrock outspeeds on the following turn and uses Embargo. This seals the deal for us as one more Crunch from Crocs V2 is enough to take the Solrock out. And with that, Wake is defeated and we earn ourselves the 5th gym badge of this run. Once again, we are bombarded when leaving a gym with some craziness involving Jamie and Team Galactic. We set out on a mission to help out our boy Jamie as we learn that Team Galactic are literal terrorists planning to set off a bomb somewhere. With a little bit of light stalking, we follow a Galactic Grunt trying to gather some information as to where and when they plan to blow something up. Obviously the Galactic Grunt is hesitant, so we beat him in a Pokemon battle, but still he won't give up much information. Best Champion then meets up with Jamie and I for a little chit chat before it's time to head up to Route 210 towards Celestic Town. We chat up Cynthia's grandma, take on a galactic run, look at some cool hieroglyphics in a cave, and then the cool blue-haired scary man we keep seeing enters the cave too. He again starts spouting some weird evil stuff before wanting to take us on in a battle. The battle was uneventful though, as Lacoste makes light work of his Pikachu and Infernape, and Crocs V2 takes down the Tauros without a hitch. He gets a little bit peeved after his loss and runs off crying. As we are left alone with Cynthia's grandmother, we give Cynthia's grandmother the time of her life, and then we head across Route 218 and into Canalave City. Whilst crossing the bridge, Jamie once again challenges us to a battle. God, I'm getting bored of these, man. Jamie leads with Porygon Z as we lead with Zara. Porygon Z starts off with a Magnet Rise, making it immune to any ground type attacks as Zara starts an Uproar, doing very little damage. The next turn, Porygon Z goes for a Signal Beam as Zara carries on with the Uproar, taking Porygon Z down to the yellow. An embargo from Porygon Z on the following turn means we can't use any items anymore, but that's not really a big problem considering it's a hardcore Nuzlocke anyway. Another Uproar from Zara just about misses out on killing the Porygon Z. Not taking any chances, we swap Zara out for Crocs V2, who is hit with a decent Signal Beam from the Porygon Z. Another Signal Beam from Porygon Z takes Crocs V2 down to half health and also confuses him. With Crocs V2 being confused, it hits himself in the same turn, taking him down to below half health. With too much risk here, we swap out into Lacoste, who is fortunate enough for Porygon Z only using Embargo. A Signal Beam from Porygon Z lands and takes Lacoste down to half health as we come back with a Razor Leaf to finish it off. Wow, that gave me way more problems than it probably should have. Out next for Jamie is Vulpix. Vulpix does outspeed on the first turn and lands a Flamethrower, taking Lacoste down to only 36 HP. An Earthquake in the same turn though is enough to one-shot the Vulpix. Jamie then sends out Burmy. We swap Lacoste out for Vans as Burmy goes for a Protect. The next turn, Jamie smartly withdraws Burmy for Nose Pass, who takes a Lava Plume from Vans very well. 2 can play the switch game though, Jamie, as we swap Vans out for Adidas, who is hit with a Thunder Wave straight away. A critical hit Rock Slide from Nose Pass on the next turn does minimal damage to Adidas, who then lands a Metal Claw, which takes Nose Pass into the yellow. A Bullet Punch from Adidas takes priority on the next turn and finishes off the Nose Pass. Jamie then sends his Burmy back out, who is eventually dealt with by Adidas after a few Psychics. Last out for Jamie is Mime Jr. A quick switch into Victoria, who is hit with a massive critical hit Psybeam from Mime Jr. straight away. However, the junior Mime artist can't take a bite from Victoria and goes down in one hit. Cheers, Jamie, that was one of the most frustratingly long battles for no goddamn reason. Not to worry though, as another gym battle awaits us. A little preparation for the next battle is done and it's time to... Oh. Zara died. Well, that's just great, isn't it? We say goodbye to Zara, who died to a biting Piplup in the gym, train up Jordans, who we caught on Route 210, and make our way up to the man himself, Byron. Let's get it. Byron leads with Rampardos as we lead with Crocs V2. Not having any super effective moves on Crocs V2 right now, we swap into Lacoste, who is hit with an Assurance. The next turn, Lacoste fires off an Earthquake, which seems to do just enough to take down Byron's Rampardos. Out next for Byron is Fortress. Vans being the perfect matchup for this thing, we swap out into him as Fortress hits us with a Payback, doing a decent chunk of damage. Vans then outspeeds in the following turn and hits Fortress with a Lava Plume, which is way more than enough to take it down. Byron's very last Pokemon is Crawdon. A very obviously bad type matchup for us, so we swap into Lacoste. Crawdon tries to go for a Protect in this turn, but it obviously fails. The next turn, a Razor Leaf from Lacoste hits Crawdon for 3/4 of its HP. It then comes back with a Taunt, meaning we can't use any non-damaging moves. Crawdon then prolongs its inevitable death by using a Protect in the following turn, but eventually, one more Razor Leaf from Lacoste is enough to secure the win. And with that, we have defeated Byron, earning us our 6th gym badge of this run. We now have a bunch of things on our to-do list from here. First, a quick stop off at Iron Island where we meet Riley, who gives us the HM Strength. We then head back to Canalave for a quick 4-way study date with Jamie, Rowan and Dawn. While studying, a literal bomb goes off halfway across the map and we can feel the vibrations from here. We're then sent on a task to investigate the strange tremor at Lake Valor. We arrive at, well, what can only be described as something that once was a lake, and find a cave in the centre. One of the Team Galactic commanders, Saturn, is waiting inside for a battle. And a battle he shall have as he sends out his freaking Entei and we send out Victoria. Entei kicks things off with a Flamethrower, doing huge damage to Victoria. Victoria then comes back with a Spark, but thanks to the Intimidate drop, it doesn't do a whole bunch. On the next turn, Saturn withdraws Entei and switches into Trapinch. We also do a little switcheroo into Vans. Not being a fan of the type matchup here, we swap Vans out for Lacoste, who takes a crunch from the Trapinch like a champ. The next turn, Lacoste moves first and connects with the Razor Leaf, taking the Trapinch out in one hit. Saturn then brings Entei back out, and once again the tight matchup is not in our favour. We swap Lacoste out in for Vans, who is met with a Flamethrower from Entei, which fortunately doesn't do a lot. Vans then goes for a Swift, taking Entei to just below half health as Entei comes back with a Stomp doing decent damage. Another Swift from Vans takes Entei into KO range as it comes back with a Stomp, also bringing Vans into a dangerous position. We take the risk and go for another Swift, and it just about isn't enough to kill. Entei then lands another Stomp and Vans just about hangs in there. One more Swift from Vans on the following turn is enough to take the Entei out for good. Phew! Last out for Saturn is Xatu. With no chance of us keeping Vans out here, we swap out into Victoria as Saturn Xatu goes for a Wish. A Spark from Victoria on the following turn brings the bird down to the red whilst also paralysing it. Unfortunately, however, Xatu's ability Synchronize means Victoria also gets paralysed. Xatu's Wish then comes true in the same turn, bringing it back to the green. On the next turn, Xatu uses Tailwind, but this was all for nothing as one final Spark from Victoria is enough to knock it out and win us the battle. A few shaky moments there, but we got through it all okay in the end. With the battle with Saturn done, we fly over to Lake Verity. Rowan and Dawn are already here trying to fend off Team Galactic, so we join in on the action too. We have another battle with Mars, but I won't go into too much detail as it was pretty uneventful. Once we win against Mars, Team Galactic retreat. We catch up with Dawn and Rowan before heading towards the north of Sinnoh. En route 206, we catch ourselves our next encounter, War Turtle, which we name Superdry. We travel through a blizzard, take on a couple of trainers, and eventually set foot in Snowpoint City. We waste no time in blazing through the gym rats, readying ourselves for our next gym battle. With all the preparations done, it was time to take on Candice. Let's get it. The battle begins with Candice's Plusle up against our boy Lacoste. Plusle outspeeds on the first turn, hitting Lacoste with a Swift, doing next to nothing. Lacoste comes back with a powerful Earthquake, which is obviously far too effective for Plusle to handle. With Plusle down, out comes Candice's Leafeon. We decide to switch Lacoste out for Vans, who has to take a very weak Razor Leaf from Leafeon. On the next turn, Vans is hit with a quick attack but retaliates with a powerful Flamethrower, ending the Leafeon with one hit. Out next for Candice is Cradilly, a Pokemon we've had trouble with in the past. Not risking a Rock-type move from Cradilly, we swap Vans out for Adidas, who, as predicted, has to take an Ancient Power. The following turn, a Metal Claw from Adidas does laughable damage, as Cradilly begins to set up with Amnesia. Another Metal Claw from Adidas on the next turn does bring Cradilly into the yellow, but some health is restored thanks to a Citrus Berry. Cradilly then lands a critical hit Ancient Power, but luckily doesn't get the Omni Boost. Adidas is persistent with his Metal Claws, slowly chipping at the Cradilly's HP, but Cradilly then uses Ingrain. Adidas isn't willing to give up yet and lands another Metal Claw, taking Cradilly down to the red. Cradilly comes back with yet another Ancient Power, which is slowly chipping away at Adidas's HP. Candice then uses her first full restore, taking it back to full health as Adidas lands yet another Metal Claw. The current tactic obviously isn't working the best, so we swap out into Crocs V2, who takes an Ancient Power straight away. The next turn, Crocs V2 lands an Ice Fang, which takes Cradilly below half health. Cradilly is feeling cheesy again and hits us with a Confuse Ray. Double grrr. We don't seem to have much luck when it comes to confusion, as Crocs V2 hits itself and takes damage from Cradilly's incoming Ancient Power. The next turn, Crocs V2 snaps out of confusion and lands an Ice Fang, bringing Cradilly into kill range. Once again, the Cradilly buffs its special defense using Amnesia. One more Ice Fang on the following turn is enough to finally take down the troublesome Cradilly. Thank goodness for that. And Candice's final Pokemon is Blissey. We swap Crocs V2 for the reliable Victoria as Blissey sets up a light screen. Victoria then outspeeds Blissey and connects with a Spark, which leaves Blissey in the yellow and paralysed. Blissey manages to break through the paralysis and uses Defense Curl, but is not enough as Victoria lands one more Spark in the next turn, ending the Blissey, meaning Candice has been beaten, giving us our 7th gym badge of this run. There was no time to waste as we have to help out our boy Jamie at Lake Acuity. We get there and find out that Jamie received an ass whooping from Jupiter, not jealous at all. We console him and he gets upset and runs away in a strop. Get a grip, mate. It's back to Veilstone though, as our mission is to finally stop Team Galactic for good. Turns out they have captured the trio of Lake Guardians, Azelf, Mesprit and Yuxi. Channeling our inner N, we use our skills and aim to set free the mythical lake trio from the grips of the evil Team Galactic. We infiltrate the HQ, taking down a bunch of grunts as we go, until we finally come across Cyrus rallying his entire team. This is giving serious dictatorship vibes, and I'm not here for it, to be honest. After eavesdropping on the pep rally, we continue our march through the Galactic HQ. Soon enough, we make it to Cyrus's evil lair, where he once again blabs on about wanting to recreate the world in his image, blah blah blah. Tell me something new, dude. Oh, and he also wants to battle, because of course he does. Cyrus leads with Slacking as we lead with Lacoste. Slacking goes straight for cheese and hits Lacoste with a swagger, boosting its attack but also confusing it. Fortunately, Lacoste isn't fazed by the confusion and hits Slacking with an earthquake, which deals massive damage. The next turn, Cyrus withdraws Slacking and sends out Cricketoon, who doesn't take an earthquake very well from Lacoste. The following turn, Cricketoon lowers our defense as Lacoste lands another earthquake, taking the musical bug out. Next out for Cyrus is Porygon 2. Porygon 2 starts off with a Magnet Rise, which means our Earthquake doesn't affect it. A Signal Beam from Porygon 2 does huge damage to Lacoste, as does a Crunch from Lacoste in the same turn. A Signal Beam from Porygon 2 on the next turn leaves Lacoste with only 22 HP. Lacoste connects with a Crunch on Porygon 2, which is just enough to take it out. With Cyrus down to his last Pokemon, out comes Slacking again. Any sane person here would know that we are definitely swapping into a different mon, so we swap Lacoste out for Adidas, who is hit with a Covet from Slacking. The next turn, Slacking is loafing around, and a Psychic from Adidas just barely isn't enough to take down the King Sloth. Unfortunately, Cyrus uses a full restore on Slacking, bringing it back up to full HP, and a Bullet Punch does minimal damage from Adidas. Switching up the tactic whilst the Slacking is loafing around, we swap into Vans the Typhlosion. A Flamethrower from Vans does a good amount of damage as Slacking comes back with a counter which has no effect. A free Flamethrower on the next turn due to Slacking loafing around takes Slacking into the red once again. Slacking outspeeds on the following turn with a Flail and... Vans goes down. That is a tough loss. I really enjoy using a Typhlosion, but I feel like I didn't use it to its full potential. You will be missed, Vans. Looking to avenge Vans, we send out our starter, Adidas. Slacking is loafing around and Adidas lands a Bullet Punch, taking it out for good. Ugh, Cyrus, you are a cruel, cruel man. After defeating Cyrus, we head on up to where the Lake Trio are being held captive by Saturn and some nerd I really can't be bothered to remember the name of. I didn't have any healing items on me at the time, so we went into this battle a little bit unhealthy. But as you can see, we made it through the battle without any deaths, thankfully. Although, we did come close with a few of our team members. Once we deal with Saturn, we press the big red nuke button and fulfill Cyrus's plan of ending the world. In reality, the button releases the Lake Trio and all faith in the world is restored. Except... it isn't. Turns out Cyrus has completely lost touch with reality and heads up to the peak of Mount Coronet to summon the literal gods of time and space. What the fuck is happening? Of course our little 11-year-old self is the only person who can try and stop this from happening, so we make our way up and through the mountain until we finally reach the peak. There we see Mars and Jupiter protecting Cyrus as he begins to summon the gods of creation. They try to gang up on us until Jamie arrives to back us up with a double battle. Let's do this, Jamie. The battle got quite scary at a point just after Lacoste teams up with Beedrill to take down the Ivysaur and the Probopass. Mars and Jupiter then send out a Geodude and a scary Dragonite. Beedrill goes down during this, but Lacoste is able to take down the Geodude with a Razor Leaf as well as dealing chip damage to the Dragonite. A Salamence then joins the battle, meaning we have to take down two extremely powerful pseudo-legendaries. Great. Not to worry though, as we swap Lacoste out for Crocs V2, who can hopefully deal with the two. Vibrava goes down to a Dragon Breath and a Dragon Rush deals huge damage to Crocs V2. Fortunately on the next turn, Jamie's Venonat is targeted and Crocs V2 is able to get off a quad effective Ice Fang on the Dragonite, which is enough to one-shot it. It eventually comes down to both Salamence and Crocs V2 on slithers of health before Salamence goes down to a Swift from Jamie's Mesprit, securing us the win against the two commanders. Good stuff, Jamie. But it's too late. As Cyrus begins the summoning, the gods of time and space appear before us, and hell ensues. Well, that portal doesn't look safe. Probably best not to go in. Okay, we went in it. Cynthia and I travel through the underworld in search of Cyrus. Eventually we come across the crazy blue-haired man and he doesn't seem too happy with us trying to constantly foil his plans. And so he challenges us to one final battle. The battle begins with Cyrus sending out an Eevee as we send out Victoria. Victoria kicks the battle off with the Spark, taking Eevee down to the yellow and also paralysing it. Eevee then gets fully paralysed in the same turn. With that, one more Spark from Victoria ends the Eevee very nicely. Next out for Cyrus is Slowking. Victoria being the perfect match, we stay out and go for a Spark, taking Slowking into the yellow and is also paralysed in the process. Slowking then goes for a nasty plot, raising its special attack. Another Spark from Victoria on the same turn just misses out on the kill, but fortunately gets fully paralysed in the same turn. Cyrus then uses a full restore, bringing Slowking back up to full HP whilst also healing its paralysis. A Spark then takes Slowking down to the yellow and on the following turn is able to be taken down with one final Spark. Out next is Magmortar. Feeling confident in Victoria's ability to win, we stay out and are hit with a Confused Ray from Magmortar. However, Victoria breaks through and lands a Spark which does great damage and once again paralyzes its target. In the same turn, Magmortar is fully paralysed, which is just great. We use this opportunity to switch into Lacoste, but this doesn't pay off as Magmortar goes for a Flamethrower, leaving Lacoste with only 17 HP. We take a massive risk and go for a stab super effective Earthquake and take down the Magmortar. Wow, that was super risky, but in the end it paid off. Next out for Cyrus is Burmy. We switch out into Victoria as Lacoste is low on health, as Burmy goes for a Bug Bite, which doesn't do a lot. On the next turn, Victoria hits Burmy with a Spark, leaving it in the yellow. Burmy then goes for another Bug Bite, which once again doesn't do a whole lot, and one more Spark from Victoria on the following turn is enough to take down the Burmy. Last out for Cyrus is Porygon 2. We swap Victoria out for Crocs V2, who gets hit with a critical hit Signal Beam, dealing massive damage. Now, let's just pause here. What you're about to witness can only be described as pure stupidity. I have no idea what was going through my head here, but it happened. And there's literally no excuse. Let's just play it. We decide to stay out with a heavily injured Crocs V2 and we land an Ice Fang, dealing very little damage. Porygon 2 then goes for a Discharge, which is just too much for Crocs V2 to handle, and unfortunately he goes down. Rip Crocs V2, that was completely my bad. Victoria is then sent out to clean up the mess and goes for a Spark straight away, taking Porygon 2 down to the yellow. Porygon 2 then uses Lock On, which is very scary to me at this point. After a few more turns involving Sparks, full restores and some Lock-Ons, Victoria is able to secure the win over Cyrus by knocking out the Porygon 2 with one last Spark. Cyrus is obviously humble in defeat and slowly walks off into the underworld. Poor guy, man. Nothing else happens much in the underworld except meeting the literal god of hell, but that's no biggie. Regular Tuesday, right? Finally, it was time to get the hell out of hell and get back to normality. Now that the story stuff is out of the way, our only goal is to take down the last gym leader and head up onto the Pokemon League. We head to the east of Sinnoh and set foot in Sunny Shore City. We also had our starter Adidas evolve from a Metang into a beastly Metagross. Let's go. We also added a water type onto the team in Superdry the Wartortle, who eventually evolves into Blastoise. We head towards the next gym where apparently the gym leader isn't feeling very excited about battling anymore. For some reason, we are then tasked with finding him at the top of a lighthouse and asking for a battle, promising that if he does battle us, we will reignite his flame. Pause. After our words of persuasion, we head through the gym and its battles and eventually reach Volkner. Let's get it. Volkner leads with Bayonet as we lead with Lacoste. In the same turn, Burnett uses Embargo, meaning we can't use any items as Lacoste goes for a Crunch, taking Burnett down to the red. A Hyper Potion from Volkner in the next turn brings Burnett back up to full health, but that HP is swiftly brought back down to the orange with another Crunch from Lacoste. On the following turn, a Shadow Ball from Burnett takes a decent chunk of HP from Lacoste, who comes back with another Crunch, which is able to take the Burnett out. Next out for Volkner is Arcanine. Not a favourable type matchup, so we swap into our newly added team member Superdry. Superdry is hit with a Fire Fang when coming in, which as expected doesn't do a whole lot. The next turn, Arcanine uses a priority extreme speed for good damage as Superdry retaliates with a Water Pulse, only doing around a quarter of HP. Arcanine then goes for another extreme speed, leaving Superdry with only 22 HP. Another Water Pulse from Superdry connects and leaves Arcanine with a literal slither of health. Luckily though, we do confuse the Arcanine, but a Citrus Berry pops, bringing it into the yellow again. With Superdry in a dangerous position, we make a bold choice to switch into Adidas as Arcanine unfortunately gets confused and hits itself, taking it into the red. Using a Bullet Punch for priority, Adidas is able to finish off the Arcanine on the next turn. Next out for Volkner is Goldeen. Having faith in Adidas, we stay out and use Psychic on Goldeen, which manages to take it into the yellow. Goldeen then uses an Aqua Ring in the same turn, restoring HP in the process. One more Psychic from Adidas on the next turn is enough to take down the Goldeen. And last but not least for Volkner is Miltank. Miltank tries to kick things off with a quad resisted Zen headbutt, but misses, as Adidas lands a powerful hammer arm, taking Miltank into the yellow. Miltank does the same the next turn and continues to miss, as another hammer arm from Adidas brings Miltank down to the red. Forgetting that Volkner has another full restore, we opt for a bullet punch, but obviously Miltank is able to restore its HP and take very little damage from Adidas. After a few more nimble dodges from Adidas and a couple of hammer arms, Miltank finally goes down, meaning we have defeated the 8th and final gym leader in this run. Nice. Now, the only thing left to do is head up towards Victory Road and prepare ourselves for the Elite Four and Champion. Victory Road really doesn't give us many troubles as we exit the cave and arrive at the magnificent Sinnoh Pokemon League. We have made it, and now there are only 5 more challenges that stand in our way. Oh, Jamie wants to battle. Make that 6 more challenges. Jamie begins by sending out his Rattata as we send out Calvin the Mismagius. Calvin outspeeds on the first turn, landing a Psybeam, taking Rattata down to the yellow whilst also confusing it. Rattata manages to break through the confusion and hit us with an Assurance, doing a bunch of damage to Calvin. On the next turn, Calvin takes care of Rattata with one more Psybeam. Next out for Jamie is Seviper. Scared of a Dark type move coming our way, we switch out into Lacoste the Torterra, who is met with a Night Slash, dealing little damage. The following turn, a Swagger from Seviper leaves Lacoste confused, and with our lack of luck with confusion, Lacoste hits himself. A Haze from Seviper brings our attack stat back down to where it was, but doesn't affect our confusion. Fortunately, Lacoste is able to break through the confusion, landing an Earthquake which manages to one-shot the Seviper. Jamie's next Pokemon is Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan hits like a truck, so we swap out into Calvin hoping for a fighting type move. But the Hitmonchan is passive and goes for a Detect, giving us a free switch. The next turn, Hitmonchan uses Detect again and protects itself from the incoming Psybeam from Calvin. However, Calvin lands a Psybeam on the next turn, taking Hitmonchan down to the yellow as it comes back with a Fire Punch, taking Calvin down to 30 HP. Knowing that we outspeed, we stay in with Calvin and land one more Psybeam, taking down the Hitmonchan. Out next is Bastiodon. We withdraw Calvin from the battlefield and send out Lacoste, who doesn't take any damage as the Bastiodon metal sounds fail. On the next turn, a quad effective Stab Earthquake from Lacoste is enough to take down the Bastiodon. Jamie's penultimate Pokemon is Whismur. Nothing Lacoste can't handle as he is able to take it down with a single Earthquake, taking us down to Jamie's final Pokemon of this battle, Luvdisc. Seeing a perfect opportunity to swap into Victoria here, we do just that as Luvdisc goes for an Aqua Ring. On the next turn, Luvdisc goes for a Safeguard as Victoria goes for a Spark, taking the Luvdisc down in just one hit. And with that, our last battle with Jamie was a massive success. Go us! But now, for what we've all been waiting for, time to take on the Elite Four and the Champion of Sinnoh. First on our list to beat is Aaron, who is usually a trainer who specialises in Bug-type Pokemon. Let's see what the randomizer has in store for us. The battle begins as Aaron sends out a Crawdon and we send out Calvin. Knowing that this isn't a great type matchup to lead with, we switch into Victoria the Luxray. Immediately, Victoria is hit with a Night Slash from Crawdon, bringing her down to 2/3 of her health. The next turn, Victoria lands a powerful Spark which leaves the Crawdon in the red. Although we get the paralysis on Crawdon, it manages to break through and land a Crab Hammer, bringing Victoria into kill range. Knowing we could take the Crawdon out after a full restore from Aaron, we stay in, and after 2 more turns, Crawdon is withdrawn for Geodude, who doesn't take effect to Victoria's Spark thanks to it being a ground type. With Victoria on low HP, we switch into Lacoste, who tanks a Double Edge from the Geodude nicely. The next turn, Lacoste lands a powerful Giga Drain, taking the Geodude down in one hit. Aaron then brings out an almighty Spinarak onto the battlefield. Even a resisted Earthquake from Lacoste is enough to take the little spider guy out. Come on Aaron, at least try. Crawdon then hobbles its way back onto the battlefield, but with its HP being so low and Lacoste having the type advantage, you should know how this ends. A Giga Drain from Lacoste is enough to take down the Crawdon. Aaron then decides to play dirty and brings out Lacoste's long-lost brother, Grottle. For obvious reasons, we swap Lacoste out for Jordan's the Yanmega, who is met with a Giga Drain, doing little damage. On the next turn, Yanmega lands an Air Slash and gets the kill on Grottle in one hit. Sorry Lacoste, but it was either him or us, man. Last out for Aaron is Slowking. On the first turn, Jordans makes a U-turn, dealing a decent amount of damage to Slowking. We then opt for Lacoste to come in as the Slowking begins to set up with a nasty plot. The following turn, Lacoste outspeeds and lands a Razor Leaf, which is enough to take the Slowking down. And with that, Aaron is defeated and we have won our first Elite Four battle. Now for our next battle against Bertha. Bertha is usually a specialist in the ground type, so let's see what's on offer in this randomizer. The battle kicks off as Bertha sends out a Whale Lord and we start off with Calvin. With Whale Lord being known for its special defense, we opt to swap out into Victoria straight away. Whale Lord then goes for Amnesia in the same turn. On the next turn, Victoria hits Whale Lord with a Spark which manages to take it down to a slither of health and paralyzes the big old whale. A Brine from Whale Lord on the same turn does an okay amount of damage to Victoria. After a full restore from Bertha brings Whale Lord back up to full health, another Spark from Victoria takes it straight back down to the red and also gets the paralysis again. One more turn of Spark from Victoria takes the Whale Lord out for good. Onto Bertha's next Pokemon, Hitmonlee. Not taking any chances with Victoria, swap out into Calvin expecting a fighting type move. Fortunately, our predictions are somewhat correct as Hitmonlee tries to go for a Mega Kick, but that obviously doesn't affect Calvin. On the next turn, Hitmonlee connects with a powerful Blaze Kick and Calvin goes down. This is such a shame. Mismagius is an awesome Pokemon to use. Fly high, my witchy ghost boy. We have no time to mourn as we bring out Jordans the Yanmega next. He kicks things off with a super effective Air Slash, taking Hitmonlee down to the yellow, but even better, it flinches the thumb looking Pokemon. On the next turn, Hitmonlee cheats death as Bertha withdraws him for her Mareep. Even with a resisted Air Slash, Jordans is able to take the kill on Mareep with no problem. Hitmonlee then comes back out and makes one last appearance as it then goes down to one more Air Slash. Jordans is on a roll here. Bertha's next Pokemon is Skorupi. With Jordans on a roll, we connect with another Air Slash, taking the Skorupi down in only one hit. Last out for Bertha is a Nidoran female. You could probably tell the outcome of this matchup. Two Air Slashes from Jordans takes down the Nidoran female, winning us the battle against the second Elite Four member. That was a tough battle to swallow, as we lost one of my favourite Pokemon of all time. With revenge on our minds, we head towards the next Elite Four member, Flint. As if you couldn't tell by his room, Flint is usually a Fire-type Elite Four member. Let's see how we do. Flint starts off with a Wall Rain, as we send out our starter, Adidas. Adidas outspeeds on the first turn, hitting Wall Rain with a Hammer Arm, taking it down to the yellow. Wall Rain tries to come back with a Blizzard, but we are able to avoid it fortunately. On the next turn, Wall Rain outspeeds thanks to our speed drop after using Hammer Arm and uses Rest, taking it up to full health. A Hammer Arm from Adidas in the same turn then takes Wall Rain back down to where it was. With Wall Rain asleep, it cannot attack the next turn, which gives Adidas a free Psychic, which just about misses out on the kill. Flint then uses a full restore on Wall Rain the following turn as a Bullet Punch from Adidas does a good amount of chip damage. On the next turn, Flint withdraws the Wall Rain and sends out Marshtomp. Marshtomp is hit with a Hammer Arm from Adidas, taking it down below half health. Not taking any chances of a ground type move here, we switch out into Lacoste as Marshtomp tries to use Protect in the same turn. A Muddy Water from Marshtomp on the following turn does little damage to Lacoste, who fires back with a Giga Drain, taking out the Marshtomp in one hit. Wall Rain is then brought back out for Flint. Lacoste wouldn't take too kindly to a Blizzard here, so we swap out into our starter, Adidas. Adidas is hit with a Blizzard on the switch, and although not effective, it still did a bit of damage. On the next turn, a Hammer Arm from Adidas takes Wall Rain down to the red and in turn lowers our speed. An Ice Fang from Wall Rain does little damage in the same turn. Adidas is able to finish off Flint's Wall Rain on the following turn with a priority Bullet Punch. Next out for Flint is his Vulpix. Anticipating a fire type move here, we switch out into Super Dry, the Blastoise. As predicted, Vulpix goes for a Fire Blast on Super Dry, which does minimal damage. On the next turn, Vulpix goes for another Fire Blast as Super Dry tanks it and goes for a Surf, taking the Vulpix down in just one hit. Flint's second to last Pokemon is Taillow. An Aerial Ace from Taillow on the first turn lands and does good damage to Super Dry. Super Dry comes back with a Surf, taking Taillow down to the yellow as it is healed by its Citrus Berry. Another Aerial Ace from Taillow on the following turn crits and leaves Super Dry with only 22 HP. One more Surf from Super Dry in the same turn takes the Taillow out. And Flint's last Pokemon is Pidgeotto. With Super Dry on super low health, we withdraw him and send out Victoria the Luxray. Victoria is then hit with a measly resisted wing attack, doing very little damage. On the following turn, a Spark from Victoria is enough to take down the Pidgeotto in one hit. And with that, we have taken down the third Elite Four member in this run. That was an okay battle. And the good thing is, we didn't lose a Pokemon. But will that be the same case against Lucian? Let's find out. Lucian kicks the battle off with a Tauros as we send out Adidas. Straight off the bat, Tauros gets off a Swagger, confusing Adidas but also buffing its attack stat. Due to Adidas being confused, he hits himself in confusion on the same turn. The following turn, a Thrash from Tauros does little damage to Adidas as he comes back with a powerful Hammer Arm, taking down the Tauros in just one hit. Out next for Flint is Nincada. On the first turn, Nincada burrows underground as Adidas tries to go for a Metaclaw, but hits himself in confusion again. Even though it is an Nincada, we are not risking a super effective move on Adidas, so we withdraw him and send in Jordan's the Yanmega, who is not affected by the incoming dig from Nincada. On the next turn, Jordan's connects with an Air Slash, which is more than enough to take down the Nincada. Lucian then sends out a Noctowl. Jordan's lands a U-turn, doing a decent chunk to Noctowl and swaps out into Victoria the Luxray. Victoria is hit with an extra sensory on the switch, doing a decent chunk to Luxray. On the next turn, Victoria lands a Spark, which does enough to take down the Noctowl. Out next for Lucian is Pillow-Swine. It's pretty obvious that we're not going to be staying out here, so we swap out into Superdry. Superdry is hit with an Earthquake from the Pillow-Swine, which does a good amount of damage. Superdry then outspeeds on the next turn with a Surf, which takes Pillow-Swine down to the yellow. Pillow-Swine goes for a Mist in the same turn, so no damage is done. The next turn, Superdry is able to finish off the Pillow-Swine with one more Surf. And last but not least for Lucian is Illumise. We decide to take Superdry away from the battlefield and swap into Jordan's, who is hit with a Bug Buzz, doing very little damage. On the next turn, another Bug Buzz from Illumise doesn't do a lot, and an Air Slash from Jordan's crits, taking down the Illumise in one hit. And with that, we have defeated Lucian, winning against our fourth and final Elite Four member in this run. This randomizer run has been a lot of fun as it's allowed me to use Pokemon that I would never usually use. I find this to be the case with all of these hardcore Nuzlocks that I've been doing recently. Using Pokemon that you would never usually use in a run is a super fun challenge and I would definitely recommend it. But now only one challenge awaits us in this run. One final push for victory. Will we pull it off? Let's find out as we take on Cynthia. The battle begins as Cynthia sends out Ekans, and we send out our starter, Adidas. On the first turn, Adidas outspeeds the Ekans and lands a super effective Stab Psychic, taking it out in just one hit. Cynthia's next Pokemon is Marowak, a ground type Pokemon that would not go down well against Adidas here, so we switch out into Superdry the Blastoise, who is met with a Bone Rush, which hits 3 times. On the next turn, a Surf from Superdry takes Marowak down to the yellow as it retaliates with a Double Edge, taking Superdry down to the yellow also. Knowing that Cynthia will use a full restore here, we take the opportunity to use another Surf, and it pays off as we take down the Marowak for good. Next out for Cynthia is Skuntank. Not risking Superdry's life, we swap out into Lacoste, who takes a Night Slash from Skuntank like a champ. On the next turn, Skuntank goes for a Flamethrower, which leaves Lacoste with only 26 HP. Lacoste, just hanging in there, goes for an Earthquake, taking the smelly skunk down in just one hit. Whew, this is getting intense. Cynthia's fourth Pokemon is Dugong. Anticipating an Ice-type move, we switch out into Victoria the Luxray as Dugong goes underwater. The next turn, Luxray outspeeds but obviously misses as Dugong connects with a dive, doing very little damage. The following turn, a Spark from Victoria takes Dugong down to the yellow and also paralyzes it. In the same turn, Dugong goes for a Safeguard, cloaking itself in a mystical veil. One more Spark from Victoria on the same turn is enough to take down the Dugong. Next out for Cynthia is Empoleon. Feeling confident in Victoria's ability to stay out, we go for a Spark on the Empoleon, taking it down to the yellow as it tries to fire back with a Hydro Pump, but fortunately for us, it misses. One more Spark from Victoria on the following turn is enough to take down the Empoleon. And now, for Cynthia's final Pokemon, Gulpin. Yeah, not exactly Garchomp now, is it? Nonetheless, we want to finish this challenge the way we started it. We bring out our starter, Adidas, to finish off the job. On the switch, Adidas is hit with a Ring Out, but it doesn't do any damage. And with one final move from Adidas, we secure ourselves the win against Cynthia, which means we have defeated everyone in the league, winning us the entirety of this challenge. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you want to see more of these. I've got a bunch in the pipeline, so you're going to be getting them either way. But yeah, they're a bunch of fun to make. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.